Calling to order the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Warrenville Public Library District. It's Wednesday, October 19th, 2022, and it is 7:00 p.m. I'm going to take a roll call. Trustee Lazan. Here. Trustee Pika. Present. Trustee Ratzika.
Present.
Trustee Stahl.
Present.
Trustee DeRocher is here, and Director Whitmer, and Assistant to the Director Davis, and fabulous set of department heads. Who I will now call by name. Mary Kelly and Kathy and Paul. All right. The first thing we're going to do is approve the agenda. I do not believe we need to go into closed session for anything, so I'd like to strike that.
And we don't have a request for remote attendance.
No, we don't.
Okay.
So that would take items 19 to 20 off the agenda. Any other changes that you are aware of? Not me, thank you. Anybody else? No. All right, can I have a motion?
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
I second.
Motion was made by Trustee Stahl and seconded by Trustee Ratzika. Trustee Lazan.
Aye.
Trustee Pika. Aye. Trustee Ratzika.
Aye.
Trustee Stahl.
Aye.
Trustee DeRocher votes aye. Motion passes. All right, do we have any presentations? No. No. All right.
Trustee Warren just arrived.
Trustee Warren arrived at 7:02. And it's like we have no public comments or correspondence, so we're gonna get right to the consent agenda.
Okay.
This is the quickest we've ever done it.
Okay, item number A, approved minutes of the September 21st, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting. Item B, approved minutes of the September 21st, 2022 Budget and Appropriation Public Hearing. Item C, approved minutes of the September 21st, 2022 Regular Board Meeting. And item D, receive and file financial report for September.
Good, if I could have a motion to approve that. I move that we approve the consent agenda as read. Second. So the motion was made by Trustee Lazan and seconded by Trustee Pika. Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Lazan. Aye. Trustee Pika. Aye. Trustee Ratzika.
Aye.
Trustee Stahl.
Aye.
And Trustee DeRocher votes aye. And the consent agenda has passed. Now on to the regular agenda, including payments.
I move that we pay invoices in the amount of $58,440.17 for the period of September 22nd, 2022 through October 19th, 2022, including electronic payments and checks numbers 9042 through 9091 and none voided.
Change something. Woo-hoo. All right. Did I have a second?
Second.
All right. A motion was made by Trustee Stahl and seconded by Trustee Warren and Trustee Stahl.
Aye.
Trustee Ratzika.
Aye.
Trustee Pika.
Aye.
Trustee Lazan. Aye. Trustee Warren.
Aye.
And Trustee DeRocher votes aye.
I do have a question. What is the Libraries of Illinois Risk Agency? Is that new?
It's our
11,000,
insurance.
it's a new insurance? Okay.
Yes.
I've never seen it, but
Yeah,
thank you.
The package insurance
Right.
for July through December.
Got it.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, item 8B, transfer funds.
I move to transfer $125,000 from commercial checking account to operating checking account.
Second.
Okay, so the motion was made by Trustee Ratzika and seconded by Trustee Stahl. Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Lazan. Aye. Trustee Pika. Aye. Trustee Ratzika.
Aye.
Trustee Stahl.
Aye.
Trustee DeRocher votes aye. Motion passes. Now we're on to unfinished business, 9A on page 22. It's like we forgot something and we're just adding it to the list.
So just an informational item, when I asked you to approve, the holidays a month or two ago, I neglected to include Monday, January 2nd. That was approved last year, so this is just an updated list with an FYI.
So we don't need to reapprove.
Nope, no action needed.
Excellent.
Information only.
Moving on to new business. So the executive director search, I did have a nice conversation with John Keister today. He is moving along. He has gotten the position posted in several key areas on the Rails website, in the ALA website, and the ILA website. He feels very confident. He's already done some significant recruiting. He feels confident that we're going to have a candidate from Northern Indiana applying, and a couple of other people that he's very confident about. So he and I discussed that at our next board meeting, we would like to have a committee of the whole meeting at 6 o'clock, and he'll come in on video. We'll probably have to go to a closed session to talk about the candidates, but he'll give us an update at that time. He's feeling very positive. He wants us all to know that our library holds a very high reputation in staff and in our board. And he just wanted us to know that.
Well, thank
And
you.
he was like, so pat yourselves on the back, because it's not happening everywhere. So.
Can we take turns to come around?
Yeah, go ahead, you start. No, John really is quite a positive person, but I have to say that he feels very positive about this process. So I just wanted to check in with you about your availability for a committee of the whole meeting at 6 o'clock next month. Are we feeling that we can do that?
Yes.
Yes.
How about you, Sandy? You're good? Okay. We don't have anything set aside for having a meal, so you should probably all have something to eat
Pick a
before you
pick.
head over. And John Keister will be joining us remotely on video. I don't think I have anything else with regard to that. Does anybody have any questions?
How is this, what's the status of the website that he was going to?
It's up.
Okay,
It's for sure up, and I did share the link with you. Were you not able to?
I didn't get it.
I got the email.
Yeah,
In any of my emails, I did not get it. That's why I'm asking the question.
I'm so sorry. Okay,
I can tell you what it is. It's very
Go ahead.
simple. It's John Keister. So JOHNKEISTER.com/Warrenville.
Yes.
That is all.
Oh, I'll try and get it before we leave. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
yeah, and so you can go on. It's a nicely built website, and he also has built analytics into it to be able to, and also I think he did analytics with some of the places that he posted in. He was just seeing what kind of kids he does. So, other questions?
I'm just gonna ask next month about, we have been broadcasting all of our board meetings on Zoom live, as well as recording them to video. And I'm curious if the board, because that committee, the whole meeting will be primarily a closed session discussion, I don't anticipate any. Well, we can't vote, take action in a committee whole meeting anyway. I'm just curious if the board would be okay if that meeting was not broadcast to Zoom or recorded for Zoom. It has to be recorded because of the closed session, but yeah.
Right.
Are you good with that if it's not?
Yeah.
Yes.
Video and recorded, okay.
Would prefer. Also, I do want to double check. When we had our video meeting with him at the beginning, he did recommend that we have a potential $5,000 amount for anyone that might need to relocate from out of state. And I thought that we had covered that and approved it, but I just wanted to be sure that I'm remembering that correctly.
I thought so.
Yeah.
We have that memory. Good, good. All right. All right. So that is all. That's all I have to update you with, but I think things are really looking good.
Well, thank you.
So
Now, I know that too, didn't he say something about that we might, you might have to talk to the candidates before interviewing.
Yeah, and that may very well happen. We may not be doing them all at once. We may be, once we talk about the candidates that we have on the 16th,
Oh, okay,
we may be inviting people to come, like, especially if we want to get someone in particular. More, instead of doing it all in a batch.
right,
We might be doing them more individually.
okay.
So. All right.
Sandy, the link worked. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good, okay, I'm gonna move on then to item 10B, the diversity, equity, and inclusion
So
statement.
that's Mary Kelly is gonna come up to the table and
Here she comes.
she is going to kind of lead this discussion.
Thank you all for having me this evening. Well, every month we join you, but for this particular topic, it's something that I'm passionate about. As you may or may not know, Director Whitmer, when she hired me, I was upfront with her about my personal and professional passion for diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace and in my life. It's a journey for everybody, organization or individual. I have received training through RGW Consulting Company, LLC, Candid Conversations with Dr. Adrian Coleman, and also bystander intervention training with Advancing Asian Justice Chicago. With that being said, after my 90 days, Director Whitmer created a goal for me to come up with a DEI committee here at the library. And our task became to come up with a DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion statement for the board to incorporate and hopefully be part of the next strategic plan and build it into policies and procedures. So earlier this year, I, along with Tom Hill, who's the adult services librarian, Kathy Strickland from member services, Julie Curtis, the youth services librarian, and our very own marketing specialist, Kathy Gatos, came together to work on this. We did a lot of research on what other organizations had as far as their diversity statements. If they had the diversity statement, we weren't just looking at libraries, we were looking at any organization to just kind of get a feel of, wording and verbiage and things like that. And one thing that we talked about, and I talked about extensively with Director Whitmer, was that we didn't want this to be just a jump on the bandwagon because DEI is a hot topic and, it's something that we want to incorporate and be part of this library in our practices, both hiring, policy, procedures, and so forth. So listed below, there are 3 different choices that the committee came up with. Warrenville Public Library District provides equitable access to inclusive collection programs and services of value to our diverse community. Selection B is Warrenville Public Community District. Warrenville Public Library District provides equitable access to inclusive collections, programs, and services that reflect our diverse community. And C is Warrenville Public Library District provides equitable access to inclusive collections, programs, and services that celebrates our diversity. And I now leave this in your hands to discuss. If you have any questions for me, please feel free. On the following pages, one of the tasks of the group, the committee, was we went through of what we are currently doing, what's in place, where we see different things. So there's examples of diversity, and that whether it's in our collections, program, services, or spaces. And the next page is examples of equity with the same choices, and the last page is examples of inclusion. So,
I would like to just commend this committee for doing a very good body of work. This is wonderful. It was so great to read through each of these areas. What we're doing in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion it was really heartening to see what we're already doing. And I feel like it's already very much a part of our culture here at the library, but this will solidify it. And I'm really very excited about that. And I completely agree that we don't want it just to be a jump on the bandwagon. We want it to continue to be part of our culture and also to imbue the library. I really am so happy that this work is being done. And you know that it's something that's personally very important to me as well.
A lot of detailed research on your part and your coworkers, so
yes,
thank you.
you're very welcome. It was definitely a collaborative effort. We met, we started off meeting like once. We were gonna meet like once every month or 4 or 5 weeks, but then towards the end, we were meeting a little bit more frequently, just we were trying to get this together so that I can present to you. Initially, I was going to present to you last month. Unfortunately, I became ill. So it got pushed to this month, which I'm equally happy about presenting. But
So I'd really like to hear a little bit more about, I mean, these are very subtle differences, but key differences. And I'd like to hear more about the discussion that your committee had with regard to of value to that reflect and that celebrate our diverse community.
well, I think that for example, I'll start with the bottom one because that's the one that is sticking out in my head the most, the celebrates. That celebrates our diverse community. Some people think of celebration and they think of like, oh, it's a party, balloons, party favors, noisemakers, you know, but that's not the type of celebration we're talking about. We're talking about celebrating and like you were saying, embracing and viewing, having to be part of. I think this is going to show my bias, which one I like, so I apologize. But reflecting the diverse community is our collections, the books, and the materials, not just books, because it's all types of materials that we have on our shelves and through our e-resources are reflected by what this diverse community is asking for, how we're trying to serve them. So it's reflected back in those things. And that value is just showing that these items do have value to the members of our community. I don't know if Kathy, if you had anything to add about those 3 choices that we agreed upon.
I would say we arrived at the 3 choices. There were 5 contributors, I believe, and at this point, Sandy had joined that meeting, and we were, a few of us brought the perspective of that, the value to reflect and to celebrate. We, at least one of us provided each of those, and then from that we discussed what do each of those really mean. And I mean, I think any of us probably would have been agreeable to any of these 3. Like if we had just said, "Oh, this is our statement, we're bringing it to you." I think we all could have come to agreement, but we thought, well, maybe this needs just a little bit more attention or perspective of people, perhaps who, like Mary Kelly said, we were all doing some homework, we were evaluating other libraries, we were evaluating other organizations. Maybe we were a little steeped in some of this stuff, so maybe it was more important to get another perspective.
Just a couple things. First of all, please make sure that anyone who's on this group or in this group is definitely thanked, and special thanks to you. Where did we get these items? Or did you make those up as well, or did we?
We had, I believe, Kathy, did you create the Google Doc? Someone created a Google Doc or a spreadsheet, or what, maybe it was Director Whitmer, who created something like examples of, and then we would just fill it in, like, for example, example of diversity, I put, because people don't think of the back of the house, the cataloging that goes on, but we do use things like the Homosaurus and the DEI metadata networking group to eliminate using offensive terms like illegal alien or non-citizen, with the preferred terms of, now I'm blanking, I can't even think about the preferred terms,
That's okay, I understand.
non-resident. So, that's all these examples were by different members of the group, and then we just highlighted where we saw them fit.
Falling in.
Yeah.
And my other last piece was that perhaps, if we cannot agree on which of the three are the best, maybe there's a compromise and a combination.
Yeah, that was exactly what occurred to me as well.
Because I can see definitely combining.
And we've already had programs with the diversity Festival of Colors for Diwali, or I saw something in the program with the colors.
Oh, that was public service.
Yeah, the wall storage.
Yeah. And then, yeah. So you're already incorporating some of these in the program.
Oh, and the library absolutely already has for years.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked my question, is where did we come with this?
And then
program?
I will say that this list at the heading, it was what are we doing now, but also what might we do in the future? And I think that these lists represent everything that we're already doing.
And we'll continue.
Yes, so as you said, this is already, I think, in many ways built into our culture. But having the board approve an official statement gives us the backing that we need to make sure we're incorporating diversity, equity, inclusion in some of our policies or hiring practices. Collection development, we've seen challenges to materials, and having a statement like this helps our staff, know that the board has backed those choices.
When are we scheduled to review the strategic plan? Excuse me.
I would say that that is something that the new director will undertake. probably
Because I
next
think this
fiscal
is
year.
an important thing
Yes.
for that process.
So I really, in deciding on this, I really like the idea of combining, something that not necessarily all three, but that reflect and celebrate our
That's exactly.
diverse
where we're going.
community. I feel like if we're reflecting and celebrating, it's already going to have value. But maybe it
Value
needs
is
to be
redundant,
explicitly
but-
stated, we have diversity in our community, but it isn't a greatly diverse community. And if we show that there is value in representing a lot of diversity, maybe even, showing the diverse groups that there isn't a great representation in this community. I think that takes us a little step further into helping people realize that, that this can be a place for everybody. I'm just so pleased to see this, and so that's what I would propose, is that we combine B and C.
I agree.
Can I interject? Mary Kelly used a word when she was describing celebrate, she used the word embrace.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuck out, just a little bit.
So you're thinking that maybe instead of using the word celebrate, we would say embrace?
And I honestly think that word probably gets to the heart of what the committee was trying to say, actually, about what the meaning of celebrate was for us, was more embracing the diverse community.
Yes.
So if you're not opposed to that,
I think it's a good word, and it
I
may be
agree.
more descriptive to the people who should be reading this. Everybody here now knows what it's supposed to mean, but going forward, future people who are new to this, I think embrace might be a better choice of words.
So we would change it to that reflect and embrace our diverse community.
Be my thought.
I know, I was struggling because the one thing that stuck out to me was a value is because I feel like in this age, there's people that are losing perspective that libraries have value to a certain extent. That, you know, so many times I can get that on the internet or that, and I guess some of it is, I just wish that, you know, you could say we make sure that everything here is open and to everybody. And so I guess for them to see the library as something of value, you know, and I mean, maybe there's not, I guess if embrace does sound better than celebrate, because again, I think too many people do have the vision of it being a party, whereas embrace, I feel like is more of a inclusive, you know, term. And whereas it just seems like that, okay, 1 month it's going to be Hispanic Heritage, we're celebrating that. Next month we're celebrating this. It's not, you could say we want to do that all year with all the community. And I think
Yes.
embrace sounds a little bit better.
Yes, and if I can just say one thing that I learned at ILA from my takeaway from the past 2 days, they talked about the concept of windows, mirrors, and doors. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but in some, it basically means that the library provides a place as a window to look in on something. It is a door where you can walk in the experience and be a part of the experience, or you can reflect and see yourself back in the materials that we have on our shelves. And I thought that was so profound. I think that, as you were saying, that this isn't necessarily the most diverse community, but some of the other community libraries that were speaking specifically about the mirrors, windows, and doors also served heavily white communities, but they were stressing the importance of, that's why you need to have materials by BIPOC authors, illustrators, producers, directors, because you need to show that this is also part of the world. We're not just in a bubble. So.
And I think too, sometimes you don't realize that your community may be more diverse than you think. But just because those communities, whether they get, I don't know whether to say overlooked or are invisible, that this way, if they find something of value here and that, you know, it's like, oh, okay. You know, it's something that then, you know, they can see that the library values their contribution, values their, because I don't know, some of it is when you don't feel valued as a person, as a community. I think that's another issue too.
I think though you have to be very careful with the use of the word value, because what Sandy may value, what I may value is totally different than what someone else may value. And I think we're making a judgment of what people value. That's why I like the combination of the reflect and embrace, because it gives that connotation to it on that. But I would hesitate to say value. That's the one I did not want to use, because it's what you think is what you value things. You know, you may want a big house. I just want a small one because that's of more value to me. So
I saw that you spoke about triangles, windows, mirrors, and doors.
Yes,
And I noticed that there's a triangle here in all three of these, that you've got inclusive collections, programs, and services.
yes,
And you've got, you've left it at that. You've left it with one answering word for either value, reflection, or celebration, so that it would be okay to balance out one triangle with another, that you could say, value to reflect and celebrate our community, which gives you that triangle that takes the difference that you have in value, reflect, and celebrate into the fact that you're valuing it, but the value is to the community. You might think that you're giving something of value, but we're looking to see something that is of value to, and that they understand that. And I think that winds up being a very vital word, value.
Well, that's why we wanted to give you, the board, a choice because,
No, I didn't want to use the choice. I wanted to use all three.
oh, use
Because
all
you
three.
got to
Oh,
reflect, because then you realize, okay, that this reflects, and as things change, it's going to reflect differently too.
right.
So that as you wind up having, who knows, we might have a influx of Ukrainian refugees here. Okay, they're in no better or worse situation than any other minority interest. And then instead of embrace, which is still us hugging them and bringing them in, if you celebrate, then that's all having an enjoyment and an appreciation and an understanding of what is there, so that you can celebrate. You celebrate a birthday. So the what you are celebrating is the celebrant, or the recipient of that celebration is the kid that's got the birthday. And everybody celebrates the fact that that's a member of our family, and that we have this group, and we are more than one, and we can take joy in that and lift that up. Embracing is kind of a crushing in on. Yes, you can embrace it, but do they embrace back? That's the thing. So I thought that it might be that you could say collections, programs, and services, that's triangle one, of value to reflect and celebrate our diverse community as a second triangle.
Something to think about.
Well, we are supposed to take action, so so we had one that was on the table to have that reflect and embrace our diverse community, and Rick's option to say of value to and reflect.
To say a value to reflective of and embracing our diverse community.
Nice. I
Very
like
well.
that.
Very well.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Our wordsmith is in the house. She said, go ahead.
I'm doodling here, I'm playing with words, not perfect. To inclusive collections, programs, and services of value to, reflective of and embracing our diverse community.
Yeah,
That's
I like that.
You got it.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's written down, okay.
And that doesn't feel like it's too wordy. That's
No,
why I was kind of backing away from the having the three.
if it's punchy,
Okay.
But I will say, we as a committee, I mean, we did play around with a lot of these words and some more and some others too, because we were concerned that we were making such a large statement.
We wanted it,
And what would we live by that? Like all of these things, was it too much?
We the People starts out and continues on for quite a ways.
well, we wanted it to be something that any member of the library staff that's onboarded or that is currently employed could say to, well, what's your DEI statement? Well, that we blank, so on and so forth, you know, that it whether you include all three of them or not, it's your choice. But we did have some longer ones that we had initially submitted, and we kind of whittled them down to, these were the like crux of what everybody kind of brought to the
Trying to get
table.
to, yeah.
Yeah,
If you bring that in and you've got that type of thing, then any new hire is understanding that they will have to embrace that thought.
All right, I think.
They don't celebrate it, but they have to embrace it.
And I will say for staff, it's as simple as, this will be an official statement. But for staff, I think what we want staff to really understand and take ownership of is that we are providing equitable access to collections, programs, and services services that are inclusive. So that really is the crux of the matter. The value reflecting and embracing is kind of an additional piece for this statement, but
Could I get Kathy to reread it, please?
The whole thing.
Right.
Warrenville Public Library District provides equitable access to inclusive collections, programs, and services of value to, reflective of, and embracing our diverse community.
Thank you.
All right, do you want to make a motion?
I move that we accept Kathy's statement there in its entirety.
I second.
So motion was made by trustee Warren and seconded by trustee Stahl. Any further discussion? All right, is this policy?
I think you can do, you've done roll call for everything else, so let's just do roll call and.
Roll call it is.
I'm gonna be safe. We're not-
Trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Lazan,
Aye.
trustee Pika,
Aye.
trustee Ritzica.
Aye.
Trustee Stahl,
Aye.
trustee DeRocher votes aye. Motion passes, and thank you
Thank you.
again so much,
Yes.
Kathy and Mary Kelly, and please do thank the rest of the committee. Definitely, thank you. All right. Moving on to item C, truth and taxation, public notice.
Can I go back 1 minute? Is it the plan of the committee to meet periodically to review?
There's more to this.
I was just gonna say, this isn't done right now. That was my question. Thank you. And you don't need to elaborate. I just want to make sure this isn't just put on a shelf and we're done with it, so.
I don't know that it's gonna be a lot of the committee will probably be involved to some extent. But this is going to guide work related to rewriting like our employee handbook, and so
Right.
it's not necessarily the committee will be involved in all of those discussions, but this has laid the groundwork for a lot of them.
I would just like to see that at least on an annual basis, the chart, for lack of a better term, that they came up with would be reviewed to make sure there's not additions that can be made or eliminations, or we're not.
We can just see what's been happening.
Yeah, I
I
think
suspect
that's
that it's gonna get
valuable.
longer as time goes on.
Well, this is in effect a mission statement.
Actually, yes, it is.
And they've done so much work on it, I just don't want to see it go on a shelf, and that's fine.
Right.
That becomes sometimes what happens to these things.
If it's a mission statement, then
Well, it needs to be part of our strategic plan, but they need to be involved in it on the staff level. If you're gonna introduce this to new hires, you have to make sure it's relevant. Yeah,
but
that's
this
my
this
point.
is inspirational.
And that's my point. If it's gonna be used for new hires and new onboarding, then it has to be relevant. And you can't say, oh, by the way, we don't do that anymore. We don't do this anymore, but we do this. It needs to be updated. So just a
And we
suggestion.
do have that, I believe that document lives on Teams. Is it, so it's a living document that can be updated, deleted, added to, and so forth on a regular.
You already were on the page. Thanks.
Good. All right, page 28, we're reviewing the truth and taxation public notice and setting the public.
Again, this is just informational that, we have to publish this. It's typically called the black border notice. It gets published in the Daily Herald with a nice thick black border, so nobody misses it. So this will be published on November 3rd, and then on the 16th, at 7 o'clock, we would have a public hearing to hear any comments about the proposed tax levy increase.
What date is that?
Wednesday, the 16th.
Oh, 16th,
It's
our
the-
meeting date.
Our meeting date, right? So you'll be having your committee of the whole meeting at 7 o'clock, this public hearing, followed immediately by your regular board meeting.
Which is where they include our auditors.
Yes,
It's a big meeting.
it is gonna be a big meeting, and the tax levy will be adopted at that November 16th board meeting.
The truth and taxation notice is available for those who read digitally as well, correct?
It is, yes, and it is published on our website, it's posted on, it'll be posted on the bulletin board outside of the library, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions about this? Okay, moving on to the director's report. Page 29. Sandy, in the audit update, she asks if the board wants the audit to be represented in person or virtually. I'm fine with them being represented virtually. Does anybody have any thoughts about that?
I think virtual.
Virtual is okay.
Are they moving forward towards that? Are you aware?
Not necessarily, not necessarily. I think it makes life easier for them, for sure.
Yeah.
And they're happy, they just said, you know, whatever you want, they're happy to be here in person or.
And I don't have any particular preference for the
Okay.
representative comes. As long as they can speak in English,
They'll be able to walk you through it.
in layperson's terms is actually
as
what
long
I
as
want to
it's not
say,
something
because sometimes I feel like
Or change
the auditor is speaking in another language completely. And so,
Yeah, from the exit conference that I had with them when we finished their work here on site. This seems to be a very straightforward year for us, so, I think either of them I'll just figure out which one wants to do the presentation, so either
okay,
is fine, or
Maybe
whoever's
that's
available,
Like a newbie.
we might.
Maybe they'll do two people and a newbie do it and a backup watching.
There you go.
Maybe, okay, I'll talk to them, thanks. Whoops. Otherwise, here I did put in a staffing update.
and yay, that's some things going
yeah.
on. Yeah.
So Cassie Crown is our new member services assistant, which she's responsible for shelving and checking in materials. She was onboarded on Monday. Jackie took care of a lot of her paperwork and she will be here to work the middle of next week. We have hired an HR manager and a member services manager. They will both be starting on Monday, November 14th. We are not telling you more information about them at this point because they both have current jobs and they are waiting until closer to their start date here to let their current employers know. But I have invited both of those individuals to the November board meeting, so that will also be
Good.
to the meeting. Today, I hired an adult services librarian. That individual will also start on November 14th. We are going to have a big onboarding day to go through some basic information. That individual has also been invited to the November board meeting. And I do have a phone conversation tomorrow evening with a graphic designer candidate to explore that person's interest in working for us as well. So
That's good news.
Very good.
hopefully by the end of this week, we'll have 5
Busy,
new
busy,
employees.
busy.
Yeah.
Busy,
Wow.
busy,
And
very
then
good.
Sarah Kraft,
Exciting.
one of the people who work at our member services desk, she resigned to pursue schooling. She's going to go back to College of DuPage and study becoming a medical assistant. So good for her. But that has left us with a gap at that desk. So we are reworking some schedules and hopefully I would love to have that position posted by the end of this week. I don't know if that's going to happen, but for sure next week, but moving right along. I'm excited.
Yeah,
Good job.
I think that
Really?
that's some
I like
good-
the idea you're combining the hiring dates too, because
Yeah.
that already builds a sense of camaraderie between.
It'll be the first time we've done that. So I've already kind of given them a little bit of a heads up, like, you haven't done this before, so we'll see how it goes. And then you can all give us feedback, like, never ever do this again. Pretty well. So,
That'd be very cool.
yeah, I think that you will all enjoy these new staff members. So I look forward to introducing them next month.
Excellent.
Yay.
All right, and the only other thing I did forget to put on the president's report, the upcoming dates. I did want to share with you, just so you don't forget, that on Friday, November 4th, the library is closed for a staff in-service day.
Oh.
So that is coming up.
November 4th.
Yes, the Friday.
Sandy, I do have a question on the snapshot. Do you have any, yes? Maybe, I don't know if that's the word. I noticed that the circulation went down from August to September, and I would have thought it would gone the other way with everybody going back to school. Have you noticed any particular thing that would indicate why that was happening?
I have not, I've tried over my entire career to figure out why these things happen, and I have no idea. But I suspect if we had a trend line for each year, that those trends would be the same from year to year.
Oh, yes,
Yeah, I think what happens, June, July, and August, summer reading, vacations, people are reading for leisure.
that's probably.
Have more time to read, the kids are checking out books that they read for pleasure. And when they get back into school, this is just my perspective,
Mhm.
when they get back into school, it's more of a focus on homework and it's not, they don't have as much time for that leisurely reading.
Thank you.
So I think that that's a possibility.
I think it's a good possibility.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna move into department head reports. I would say this is a very busy place.
I was just gonna say, this staff is really,
I mean, my goodness, I think it's impressive, all the stuff that our staff does.
and I would like to ask Paul whose idea it was to create the cards for the residents, that the seniors. That was a great idea.
It was a day and then
Yeah, I really was impressed with him.
we are doing the news, newsletters that we get.
Excellent, thank you.
I like that we're gonna have field trips to the library from the schools. I think that's great. But I was curious about the chat with the former police chief, since it was on a couple of different
Yeah,
our department head reports.
That was it.
Jack even had it unheard.
Oh, I love it. If you, and if the rest of you have not heard her speak, I had the option to do so. She's phenomenal. She is really quite a presenter. Just to listen to her talk about some of what she went through in the war and what she's trying to put forth to others. She's great.
And the presentation that we watched, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but it was part of our access to some homelessness training for dealing with people who are homeless, or how to de-escalate situations with
Yeah.
people who are challenging.
Yeah.
And that really was the focus of this particular session, was how important those skills are to de-escalate. And to really be empathetic toward people. This is the person who runs these training sessions. That's his whole premise, is it's about, empathy and treating people like humans. So
Have we included her book in the collection?
I don't know if it's in our collection or not.
It's a great book.
I have read it. Yes, it is outstanding. Outstanding. Okay, Paul, check it out.
I think it probably can come from Swan, but I just wanted to make sure everybody had access to it. So. And I do have one other question and then I will be quiet. Do you know what password manager?
Oh,
can
we're
install?
using.
Yes. KEEPASS, capital P.
What is it? I'm researching things like.
KEE.
Capital PASS, one word.
Oh, I know which one that is. Okay, thank you.
So,
Question.
Kathy, under your publicity stats, you have an average open rate of 40%. That's high. That's impressive. That means you're putting together things that people want to read, and yay you.
Thank you. I'd love to take all the credit, but I think it's a reflection of the library's name. People like the library. We have a loyal regular file.
But I think that's a very high open rate.
We're a good time.
There is.
And I also think Kathy, I'm just gonna jump in here, but Kathy does a great job of, the subject line each time is different and inviting. It's not just news from Warrenville Library. She's very good at putting in either a call to action or some kind of little hook, that gets people interested, so. Thank you. You can take credit.
Oh. Okay, any other questions or comments about the department head reports? All right, we're going to move on to the president's report on page 41. There's two opportunities for trustee education. The first is a two-part webinar series, October 29th and November 12th, for 2 hours each of those Saturdays, about exploring the role of the library board members as well as strategies for successful board meetings. So anybody who's interested in that should speak with Sandy and she will assist you with registration. And then the second one is a video of personal values and institutional purpose, intellectual freedom issues in 2022. And I'm very interested in this
I am too, and we can do
because of
that at our
book challenges.
own time, correct?
You can do it on your own time. Barbara asked me to look and see how long that
Yes,
session
that was
was.
my question as well.
And if it was something that perhaps the board would want to view together, we could do a committee of the whole meeting before a meeting.
Well, I'd rather that, I mean, I think our next 2 board meetings are gonna be very full.
I agree.
So, I think that if you have an interest in this, and I would encourage all of the board members to take the time to get the link and watch it in your spare time, what you have of it. Just because we have been lucky that we've had
That's why I want to watch it.
so
Yeah.
few or no book challenges here, and I think we need to be prepared for that in our future. Even if it doesn't happen, it'd be nice to, it would behoove us as a board, as stewards of the library, to be informed. So
I guess what I would ask is if we're going to do it the way Sandy's suggesting, how long is the link available for us to? That would be, how long is the presentation and how long would the link be available?
like, can we wait till Thanksgiving break?
That,
I don't think so.
This is put on by Lancona Pop. I'm part of Lancona Technical Services section, and I know for our programs, you can go back on the website and view past programs that have been reported. So I believe it should still be available, but I can find out and let Sandy know, and she can let the board know.
that would be great.
That would be
It's-
great, thank you.
It is still, it's actually on YouTube. It's just a link that's not a public link. The organization sent it out, and it looks like it's 1 hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
So I will right now, well, if you can check with them.
Yeah, I'll talk to Joy. Joy's on the governing board, and she's
Okay.
at ILA, just we saw last Joy.
Thank you.
And then we'll send the link, we'll just send the link out to the entire board.
Can I backtrack a minute? Jackie, what's causing the leak? I noticed something in your report in the heat map. Is that what it is? Okay, thank you. Go ahead. No, it's your equipment.
It's one of the pipes
The roof or something.
for the boiler.
Okay, thank you.
It started when the heat came on. Lee handles all of
One
that.
question on that.
Is it leaking
And-
now and I'm not noticing it?
What?
Is it leaking?
No, it was down here.
Oh, okay.
Shut down.
I was like, where is the leak?
No.
Sandy,
Yes,
regarding that presentation,
yes.
it says it's a recording of the presentation. Is there any way that we could get one for our own archives? Here in house? A DVD
How
of
do you-
it or something like that?
Well, like, if it's, especially if it's.
But if it goes away,
I
don't think we
think
could.
we're hearing from Mary Kelly that they keep it archived on their website.
We'll see.
Yeah,
It's probably,
double
if
check
they
that.
don't have it archived, it's an agreement with the speaker. Typically, like I'm thinking of our Illinois Libraries
Right.
Present programs where we've paid a fee to a speaker, not we, but the organization paid a fee to the speaker. The speaker agrees to allow it to be recorded. And then typically there's usually a date that the organization has to pull back. So for us to make a copy of that presentation would be probably a violation of copyright. But
But Rick, we would volunteer you to go to jail for us. We'll bring you brownies.
that'd be a diversity activity.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Moving on. Let's hear from the treasurer.
All right, well, I know developer donations, as you can see, Sandy has requested 20,000 to use toward a debt certificate payment. And the Fifth Third slightly raised our interest rate. Every little bit helps.
Right.
Thank you.
It's good to find more coins on the pavement.
Well, every little bit does
Every
help.
little bit helps.
Right.
It all spends.
See it, but it's there.
Yeah. It all
Anything
spends.
else, almighty treasurer?
Everything else looks good.
All right, secretary's report.
Everything looks good.
Okay, good. We don't have any committee reports. I already reported on the search. And I don't think we have any other committees that need to report. Trustee comments.
I do have one. In view of the comments we shared from John Feaster and in reviewing the things that were in our packet as far as what the different departments in our library are doing. I think as a board, we're very lucky to have the great management team that is so immersed and involved in getting the things done that need to be done in the library. And saying that, that's why I have to recognize Sandy is guiding the ship right now. So thank you all.
Here, here.
Thank you. I will say right back at you.
All right, any other trustee comments? Right, then we have no items for information or discussion. So we're at our final,
I know that we adjourn.
A second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned.
At
Excellent.
7:57.
We made it.